Your emotions are directly proportional to your money. Manage your money with your emotions. This is NPR's Life Kit. I'm Andy Tagle, one of the producers of the show, and today we're going to talk about money. More specifically, we're going to talk feelings about money, hopes and fears, guilt and shame, and the significant role they play in your financial life. Feeling uncomfortable yet? Good, then we're in the same boat. I've never been great with money, a trait I often blamed on being too busy or perpetually poor math skills, or a weakness for convenience and good sample sales. But of course, my dilemma is more complex than just a bad relationship with algebra. Money is more mindset than coins, than dollars and coins. That's Tiffany Aliche, much better known as the Budgetnista. I like to say I'm America's favorite financial educator, if not at least your favorite financial educator. In addition to being one of Life Kit's favorite financial educators, Aliche is the author of the new book, Get Good with Money. It's a super practical guide to getting your financial house in order to achieve what she calls financial wholeness in 10 steps: budgeting, savings, debt, credit, learning to earn, investing, insurance, net worth, getting your financial team in place, and estate planning. The first 5 are super foundational, and then the next 5 build upon those first 5. Her book dives deep into each one of these topics, but Alicia says this process begins with understanding your own financial identity and the many feelings and environmental forces that shape it. For Alicia, conversations about money happen front and center her whole life. Like kids had sweet 16s, but at 16 we walked to the bank down the street to open up our first joint bank account with my parents. And so I just grew up not having kind of like hang-ups about money because it was normal conversation. I was like, you guys don't have money talk Thursday nights? Not all of us might have been so lucky, but we can all, says Alicia, get good with money. We just have to get good with our feelings first. In this episode of Life Kit, tips for accessing your emotions around money and learning to strengthen your financial voice. You talk about how you used to live in a state of financial fear. And you say that financial wholeness is the cure to that financial fear or to financial trauma. And I love that idea, financial wholeness. How do you define it? How do you define that term? Let's start there. I define financial wholeness when all aspects of your financial life, and there's 10 that we lean into truly. So when all of these 10 aspects of your financial life are working congruently for what I like to call your greatest good, your biggest benefit, and your richest life. Greatest good, biggest benefit, richest life. It's really smart. Yes. I would say financial freedom is for the few, but financial wholeness is for everyone. It doesn't matter how much you make. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. It doesn't matter how old you are. Financial wholeness can be achieved by everyone. And so it's just a holistic view of like what to do with my money and how to maximize and make the most of it. So financial wholeness is really about making sure you have a strong foundation for wherever you're at. Wherever you're at. It's not about being a millionaire. It's about just making sure wherever you're at, you have an appropriate foundation, you have the appropriate, pillars in place. Exactly. Because from there, then you can build. What's so great about financial wholeness is that it is like the prerequisites to the rest of your financial life. If you get that solid foundation, like I grew up with a solid foundation. So as a result, even though like I lost my first condo to foreclosure and I lost my job and I had the scam happen, I'm here and stronger than ever before because of that financial foundation. And now I pass that gift on to y'all to get good with money. I want to talk a little bit about the emotions behind money. I love what you had to say about money messaging and being aware of the influences in our life that might affect our habits and our financial voice. I know in my own life, for example, I immediately thought about how my dad was always super frugal. He'd ask for discounts wherever we went. That's a really valuable skill, but as a kid, I just remember feeling so embarrassed. Like I just remember turning beet red. And so now, as an adult, I just have zero haggling ability, just none at all. And probably I'm worse off for it. So how do we break those habits? So one of the things I illustrate in the book is that, one, bravo to you, Andy, for acknowledging that you see that habit. So that's first. You can't break something that you don't acknowledge and see. So teaching folks to see, one, what is the habit that I'm seeing in myself? Then two, exploring where it came from. And so, like, bravo to you again, of recognizing it, this is from dad. And then three, practicing in a safe environment. So what I would tell you, Andy, is that, like, okay, don't worry about, like, the financial handling for now. Likely what I had to learn, it was a hard thing, and it might be hard for you, listener, to hear, is that I had to drop down to what I call my health and safety budget. That is, what things on my list must I pay for to maintain my health and to maintain my safety? Everybody else had to wait. So I'm giving you permission to say, you know what? I need to prioritize myself before I prioritize my bills, because if I'm not here, if I'm not healthy, if I'm not safe, who's gonna pay them anyway? Nobody. Moving on a little bit to savings, we say we should save like a squirrel. Yes, and I really like that. How do we get squirrely? Just big picture. How can we all get a little more squirrely? This is what squirrels do. Work the hardest, they save the most. And when winter time comes, squirrels, like, they hole up in their little tree and they eat off of when they work the hardest and they save the most. And so that's what we can be. Like, human beings are the opposite. When we get our raises, we get our bonuses, it's like drinks on me, that we tend to spend the most and be like, well, things are good, I don't need to work hard. And then when financial winter comes, we're like, that's when we try to put the more work in, but there's no work to be found. So that's how you get squirrely then. If you're experiencing financial abundance, lean into it. Like, work a little bit harder if you're capable, but definitely save a little more, because some of that your financial acorns are actually meant for your financial winter as well. I love that. You tell this great story in the book, and it's about saying no to brunch with your girlfriends. Yes, for a very specific reason. Can you share that story with us? Yes. So friends of mine would go to brunch every Sunday. It was maybe like, say, $30 to $50 every time. And one day I realized I wanted to go on vacation, but I didn't have any money. And then it was when I was realizing it, she called and was like, hey girl, you want to go to brunch? And I thought to myself, that's where my money is going. Like, do I remember, what did we even eat last week? And I realized brunch is not a love for me. Because I don't even remember what we had last week. She loved the brunch. That was her love. I was spending my money on her loves. That's not her fault, because she was doing what she's supposed to do. Spend her money on her love, but she was convincing me to do as well. So I stopped going to brunch, and I almost waited like how you do like a drinking game. Every time somebody says, Andy, you take a drink. But I said every time someone says brunch, I put that money in my savings account. That was my drinking game. And so every time they invite me to brunch, I would transfer $30 to $50 to a savings account. And then when I had enough, I used it to go to my first solo trip. And so now I learned that I'm not saying no to brunch, I'm saying yes to Morocco. I'm not saying no to brunch, I'm saying yes to India. And these are real countries I've been to. I'm saying yes to Monaco. I'm saying yes to Italy. And so I always encourage people to do the same. I want you to use your money to live an actual richer, more joyful life. I want you to make sure you're not using your money towards someone else's idea of loves. To me, that's not the best use of your money. What especially spoke to me was that you said you learned how to say no in a different way. It wasn't just, no, sorry, I'm busy. You didn't make excuses. You changed your language. Can you give us some template language for how we might be able to change our language? When those uncomfortable situations come around, how can we say no to brunch too? So whatever it is that you're saving towards, I don't believe saving just for saving's sake. You can save toward emergencies or save toward goals. Because saving toward saving's sake, it means that you probably are not enjoying as much life as you ought to, right? So if your emergency savings is fully funded, you got your 6 months, a year, your 3 months, whatever you think is necessary, great. You can say, I would love to, it sounds really awesome to go to that, or to go to the mall or whatever. But honestly, I'm saving toward sharing that amazing dope thing, because your friends and your family, they love you. And so that's really the language. Identifying the thing that you're saving toward your goal or emergency savings or otherwise, and then reiterating that language to the person that's asking you to spend. Because I promise you, that positive language feels good to you and to them. You're not actually saying no to them. Because what they hear is, oh wow, Tiffany, Andy's saying yes to herself. She's saying yes to this awesome goal, not no to me. So Tiffany, you came from a household where you were talking about money all the time. But what about people where that wasn't the case? How can we get comfortable talking about money? What can we say? What can we do? How can we start having these conversations? You're right. I think the average person did not have these conversations at home. So how do you naturally do that? So, a safe environment. Maybe enlist a friend to be your accountability partner. Next, be more mindful of your spending by differentiating between your purchases. Do I need it? Do I love it? Do I like it? Do I want it? Remember, a no to a like can and should be reframed as a yes to a love. Your friends and family will understand, and they might just be inspired to do the same. Finally, you can work towards financial wholeness by just talking about it more. Seek out safe spaces with your people or online, and ask the questions you want to ask. Air out your grievances. The more money conversations are out there, the less they're stigmatized, the more empowered we all are. It's just good sense. Thanks again to Tiffany Alice for joining us. Her new book is titled Get Good with Money. Special thanks to listener Carly Miller from South Dakota for her budgeting question. For more NPR Life Kit, check out our other episodes. If you want more Tiffany, we have an episode with her about how to curb unnecessary spending, and another on how to boost your credit. We also have tons of other episodes on parenting, personal finance, health, and lots more. You can find those at npr.org/lifekit. And if you love Life Kit and want more, subscribe to our newsletter at npr.org/lifekit newsletter. Also, we want to hear your tips. Leave us a voicemail at 202-216-9823 or email us at lifekit@npr.org. This episode was produced by Claire Marie Schneider. Megan Kane is our managing producer. Claire Lombardo and Beck Harlan are our digital editors. Beth Donovan is our senior editor. I'm Andy Tagle. Thanks for listening. On NPR's Pop Culture Happy Hour podcast, we talk about TV, movies, and more, like the new Marvel Disney Plus series The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and a definitive ranking of the best Muppets. All of that in around 20 minutes every weekday. Listen now to the Pop Culture Happy Hour podcast from NPR. Stressed about money, scared to check your balance? These tips are for you. This is NPR's Life Kit. Paper cuts, bodily fluids, my irrational fear of spiders, that giant earthquake destined for California. I'm Andy Tagle, one of the producers of this show, and that was a short list of things I'm more comfortable talking about than money. If you could make a long list like this of your own, you too could be dealing with money avoidance. If we have to pay the bills, we might notice that we suddenly find a place in our house or our apartment that needs cleaning because we're gonna procrastinate, and avoid paying the bills. That's Judson Brewer, a psychiatrist, neuroscientist, and author of the new book, Unwinding Anxiety. Train your brain to heal your mind. He says, money avoidance is the practice of ignoring our financial situations, often to our own detriment. It can pop up in a lot of different ways. There can be all sorts of signs, including procrastination, the turning away, just avoiding conversation about money, not opening our bank account, apps, all of those are good signs of money avoidance. Brewer says dealing with your personal finances, regardless of your situation, can be deeply uncomfortable for a million different reasons. Whether you're worried about keeping the lights on, or regretting all of that holiday spending, or feeling the pressure of student debt, money woes are a heavy mental burden, and it's only natural to turn away from them. But the avoidance doesn't magically make our bank account have more money in it. It doesn't magically get the bills paid. It doesn't magically help us, work toward having more financial security, for example. As you probably already well know, more money avoidance, more problems. So in this episode of Life Kit, Judson Brewer is here to help us rewire our brain's relationship with money. Trust me, I don't want to talk about it any more than you do. But let's win through it together, shall we? Okay, takeaway 1. Money avoidance is a survival instinct. Your brain needs training to break the habit. To start, a little science for context. We all know why money is, perhaps much shorter to saying, an integral part of our lives. Well, the bottom line is we kind of need money to survive. It helps us buy food, it helps us shelter ourselves, all of our basic needs. Now, this sounds painfully obvious, but it's important to remember that our money woes aren't just about status or personal pride. Money is a survival tool, just like spears and rocks were back in the caveman days. Brewer says today, the caveman part of our brains still operate in survival mode. So, for self-preservation, our brains are set up to help us move toward things that are rewarding and away from things that are painful. Our ancient ancestors, it was about food. When they ate some food, their body signaled to them, hey, there's calories, in this food. That was rewarding, so we'd remember to go back there. And if there was something scary, we would run away and we'd remember to run away from that. The former we'd call positive reinforcement, the latter we call negative reinforcement. And the same rules apply when it comes to our interactions with money. Let's say, purely for the purposes of example and not at all based on real events, you cringe whenever you pull up your credit card statement because in the past, you overdid it with the Amazon wishlist and a scary number attacked you on the screen. If there's something that triggers an avoidance behavior and it helps avoid that unpleasantness even for a little bit, we're gonna learn to do it again. So when you open up your bank app or whatever and as it's loading, if your brain says, ooh, this is gonna be unpleasant, your automatic response might be to say, oh, I gotta turn away from this, I'm gonna look away, even though we actually have to look at it at some point, but it might feel a little bit rewarding, even if we're not noticing that, just to wince for a moment. So if money has been a source of discomfort in the past and avoiding it has offered some short-term relief, we're more likely to repeat that same bad behavior. We assign a value to our money interactions, our brains remember those feelings, and over time, habits form. Our brains rely on this habit formation, says Brewer, so that we can lean on our learned behaviors and use the rest of our processing power on new information throughout the day. That means if money avoidance is your go-to, it'll likely stay that way. And this is true no matter your personal financial situation. We'll call this takeaway 1A. Anyone can fall victim to money avoidance because at one point or another, we've all faced financial issues that we'd rather sweep under the rug. We can turn away from them. Or we can day or $22 a week. Most people would say, well, just give me the $20 today because I don't know if I'm going to see you in a week. Maybe you won't show up. That interest rate, if we calculate that out, that's actually a pretty good return. Yeah, on 1 week of waiting, of investing in that $20, but our brains aren't set up that way. The counter here, Brewer says, is to think smaller and reframe our money focus. Let's say you're out at a bar and someone suggests another round. At that moment, try to quickly weigh the scales. Is this second drink really worth it? Is it worth the whatever amount of money I'm gonna pay for it? As compared to just sticking with one and just enjoying the company of my friends. That really dials into not, I should tell myself to only have one drink at dinner. And it moves away from that and it moves into the, well, how rewarding is it when I look at, the consequences. If I get the bill at the end of the night and I say, man, wow, that was really expensive. I spent a lot of money tonight. As compared to, wasn't that expensive because I remembered the last time and it didn't feel great when the bill was big, but it feels much better when the bill is smaller and I can actually save money. And you know what? I had just as much fun with my friends or my family as I would have otherwise. That's where we can really dial in and help our brain see, oh, it's actually rewarding not to overindulge. Did you hear the small perspective shift there? We turned a deprivation mindset into an outlook of positive potential. And this idea of mindfulness and potential savings as a bigger, better offer can work in a lot of scenarios. Let's say you're a bit too big on retail therapy, that burst of excitement you feel from a new purchase. Brewer still struggles with some sales. Yes, I've seen this a lot with myself during the pandemic, when I'm sitting in front of the computer a lot, right? And so my brain says, oh, maybe you could use this new item. And, I found myself going to the website and looking at it and, noticing that excitement. Oh, maybe I could own that too. And then I ask myself, do I really need this? And I just kind of feel into, what it feels like to overconsume. And if I can just feel into those things for a moment, that's, the enchantment of the item often goes away. This could also look like trying to substitute pricey activities or purchases with other things that might bring you joy. Love going out to dinner with friends on the weekend? How about offering a nearby hike instead? Love going to the mall with your mom? Why not try going to your local thrift store and seeing if you can find the best deal for $10, or seeing who you can get the most discounts at the grocery store? creativity feels good and is good for you and your wallet. But if it still feels like a hard mountain to climb, you're not alone. Brewer says rewiring our brains for better behavior takes time. And that's takeaway 4. You're gonna make mistakes. To move forward, respond with curiosity and kindness. So when we fall or when we stumble, often we fall into another habit, which I call review and regret, where we've fallen into that habit loop yet again, and then we beat ourselves up over it, and so we fall in the habit loop of self-judgment. So if we review and regret, we're not actually open to learning from what actually happened. We may stumble, and we all do. Brewer says, make that experience useful. Instead, we can look and learn, and we can say, what can I learn from this? So we can learn something about our minds and our mental habits. And then we can also learn, we can be in that growth mindset, as Carol Dweck puts it, to learn from it and say, what might I do differently next time? And we can start to employ some of these things that we've talked about. It's like imagining what I'm gonna get before doing the purchase, or making sure that I'm grounded before going shopping, so that I'm not doing impulse buys or whatever is helpful that helps us step out of those old habits. In essence, practicing awareness and a relationship with yourself will put you on the right track to having a positive, if imperfect, relationship with money. It's not always that simple, but it's a good goal to aim for. Financially and beyond, these 2 flavors of awareness, kindness, and curiosity can really help us in all things. Whether it's stress that leads to more financial stress, or financial stress that leads to us beating ourselves up, or just anything in life. Once upon a time, there was a great podcast called Bite It. Write it as OUIT, TWIGTCO. When you practice with this, the letters will give you a clue about the word, but force your brain to actually practice recalling the words. Happy memorizing. If you've got a random tip or an episode idea, leave us a voicemail at 202-216-9823, or email us a voice memo at lifekit@npr.org. This episode was produced by Sylvie Douglas. Megan Kane is the managing producer. Beth Donovan is the senior editor. Our production team also includes Claire Marie Schneider, Janet Ujang Lee, and Audrey Nguyen. Doug Harlan is our digital and visuals editor. I'm Andy Tagle. Thanks for listening. How to deal with money struggles during a financial crisis. This is NPR's Life Kit, and I'm Janice Torres Rodriguez. Usually I'm hosting my own show about all things money, Yo Quiero Dinero. I'm here on Life Kit to talk with personal finance expert and author Michelle Singletary about her new book, What to Do with Your Money When Crisis Hits. For me, the first thing I thought of when I was reading the book was like that pamphlet that you see in the airplane before you're gonna take off. Like, it's not gonna tell you how to drive the plane, but it's gonna tell you how to survive if something goes wrong. Oh, I wish I had thought about that, because that so explains this book. There are plenty of great personal finance books out there, but when you're in the middle of a crisis, when you're trying to figure out what to pay, you're not gonna grab a book on retirement savings and read it, 200 pages of that. You want a quick answer that will get you on the right track. In this episode of Life Kit, buckle up. We're going to help you weather financial turbulence, like when the country is in a recession or you lose your job. And we'll answer those hard questions about where to turn when you hit a financial crisis, when is it okay to ask for a loan, and what bills you should prioritize. If you're thinking this isn't for me, we're coming through the pandemic right now. This crisis hopefully is ending, but guess what? There's gonna be another one after it, and you need to be prepared for it. So get ready for takeoff. It might get a little bumpy, but we'll have a smooth landing. In the book, you say that you manage your money like you're in a perpetual recession. So I'm curious why you decide to take that approach, and how we can let calculated caution not turn into fear about money, right? Because that's the thing that so many of us are dealing with. That's exactly right. In my head, I have to always be prepared for the worst and hope for the best. The time in which I have the hardest to get people to say is when they're doing really well. And you would think that when you're doing really well, that's the time you're gonna be saving and doing all the things, but you just stay. The happy days are gonna continue forever. And I can get to that saving tomorrow. Or yeah, I'm gonna eventually increase my retirement account when I do all this other stuff. But I need you to concentrate right now on what you can do to better your finances, to prepare for that next crisis, not out of fear, but out of preparation. Yeah, I love that advice. So if someone is currently facing a layoff or a furlough, how do they decide what bills should be paid first? Traditionally, financial experts say, you try to pay all your bills, pay them on time, and we just drill that into people's head until they lose their job and there's such a limited income. Yes, I want you to continue to pay your debts, but when you don't have enough income, you just pay for what you need: a roof over your head and food on the table. And in some cases, it's just the food on the table, because you might have a little bit of breathing room to not pay your rent or even your mortgage. And I know that hurts people. They try to pay a little bit on everything, and then they don't have enough for the food on the table. And so I need people to release themselves from that guilt. So you pay for the food, you pay keeping that car going so you can look for a job. Those are the things that you haven't concentrated on. Don't worry about your credit card bill right now. We can fix that later. And while that is an obligation that I want you to be concerned about, not when you don't have any income. One of the first places that people might turn to for support financially is friends and family. So when is the right time to ask for a loan versus a financial gift? So there is never a right time to ask for a loan. You shouldn't ask for a loan. This is just gonna blow people away, because they're just like, what? I gotta pay this back. I really need people to talk their pride. And if they're in a financial crisis, go to the people who love them and care for them and say, I've lost my job. I don't know when I can pay you back. I don't want to make a promise that I'm gonna break and hurt our relationship. So if you can afford it, can you help me out with X? Listen, I don't have enough for rent and groceries. I can cover the rent. Can you help me with my groceries? And you gotta come at people that way. And I think people will be surprised at the number of folks in their life who say, absolutely. But we come to them with a loan because we feel like we have to have that obligation. Like it's the right thing to do. Except when you can't pay them back, then that ruins the relationship. And I need people on the other side of that conversation to relieve people of that need to pay you back. So whenever anybody approaches me, family or friends, I say right away, this is not a loan. And if I write them a check, I on the memo line, and this happened recently, I said, this is not in capital letters or loan. Just as a reminder to them that it's okay that you came to me. I have the resources. I'm okay with that. I wouldn't give you what I can't afford. And I released them of that obligation. And we never speak about it again. That's the other thing. If you're gonna do that, don't keep bringing it up. Well, I helped you out when. You need to give and forget. Because then if you keep bringing it up, the person feels like they have to pay you back. So just don't say anything. Now, that level of transparency, I think, is the difference between money getting in the way of relationships or actually fostering them and making them even deeper, right? Okay, so in a pinch, right, people might be tempted to turn to predatory lending options like payday loans or title loans. Why should we avoid these things at all costs? So payday loans are loans that are given to people based on their next paycheck. So all you have to have is a paycheck. And title loans is like, that is the money you've lost your job, you've had income disruption. That's like the emergency hatch, right? And life happens is the part of money when life happens. Your car breaks down. If you got kids, they don't break something. That's the part that you reach for in those situations, because a lot of times people don't have the emergency funds when they get in a crisis because they've been deep into it. I call it really a slush fund, because money slushes in, money slushes out, and then it's not there when you truly need it. And so that's where the life happens part comes from. If you're super disciplined, you can have all the money in one pot, that's fine. I'm not even like that, so if I'm not like that, I think you mere mortals should have a lot of pots. What's your take on the type of savings account? Should we be using high yield savings accounts? Is it okay to just use your local bank or credit union? What's your opinion on that? That's such a great question because people are always asking me, I've got all this money, they're very fortunate, that an emergency fund, but it just is not earning anything. And I just go, and because that's not that money's purpose. That money's purpose is just to be there. And right now, it's just razor just easy glow, right? You almost have to pay the bank to hold your money. Don't worry about that. Its job is to be there, risk-free. I'm not trying to grow the principal. I'm just trying to make sure it's there if I need it. Now, I do, search for it and make sure that I'm investing and getting growth in my other pots of money, like my retirement account, like my children's college fund, those kinds of things. You certainly can, set up a system where you're, trying to earn as much as you can, but don't worry about what those other pots are earning. Alright, let's talk about financial scams and schemes. I feel like every time I turn on the news, there's some new thing that we have to be worried about. What are some of the most common schemes that we should be looking out for? Well, right now in many communities, particularly minority communities, there's Ponzi and pyramid schemes. So the big thing is like the Su, which is sort of a savings technique that many immigrants use where people pool their money and somebody gets, the pot of savings every month. But now people have used that to create these pyramid schemes where say you put in $500 and they promise you $4,000. Now you know that's scam. Come on now. If they say, I can guarantee you return, you're about to be scammed. If they say, I got something that nobody else knows too, you're about to be scammed. And so just pause. And if you just pause and do due diligence, you'll find that you won't be scammed. But lots of people trust folks because say your sister brings them to you or your uncle or even your pastor. I don't trust nobody. I even trust my husband. If he brought something to me, I'm like, dude, I'm checking this out. I sleep with you, but I'm checking this out. And that's what you have to do because the scammers know that people feel like they're behind the curve. They know that people are anxious to grow their money. They know that people are behind in savings, and so they're eager to find a quick fix, a quick way to make money. And they play on that. They play on your trust. Don't give anybody any information who initiated a call to you. Just trust no one. Yeah. Excellent advice. So if you're finding yourself right now in a financial crisis, what are your top tips for preparing, handling, and getting through that emergency? The number one tip I have is to forgive yourself, right? You feel so guilty. You hear me say all this stuff. You're like, how did I get into none of that stuff? That's not what I want. I don't want you to feel guilty. I want you to feel energized. I want you to feel motivated. I'm trying to motivate you. I'm not gonna beat you on the head. You did what you did and maybe you didn't even know what you were doing. That's okay. But once you know better, I need you to do better, right? That's the thing. You're listening to me. I'm giving you some great tips. Don't just say, that's right, Ira, and then go back and do the same thing. And then, you know what? Take it slow. Yeah, I'm telling you a whole bunch of stuff that requires a lot. This one is a giant force, but I don't understand. I feel that it's a very safe system. I am constantly in fear of losing my job. It is our biggest success, not our biggest failure. On this special series from Throughline, Capitalism. Listen now to the Throughline podcast from NPR.